Everyone assumes the fear lives on one side, that artists are afraid of being bad, afraid of being ignored, afraid of putting something out and having it land with a thud in a room full of people who couldn't care less. And yes, that fear is real. Nobody's here to pretend otherwise. But there's another fear nobody talks about, the one that hides behind ambition, the one that shows up not when things go wrong, but right when they start going right. Artists are afraid of success, genuinely, viscerally, sometimes paralyzingly afraid of it. And the reason it doesn't get talked about is because it doesn't make sense on the surface, and because admitting you're afraid of the thing you want makes you sound like you don't deserve it. Before we dive in, please like, subscribe, donate, and join Lightbulb Letters. It really helps. All right, let's get into it. Here's the thing about creative identity. It doesn't form in a vacuum. It forms in contrast to something. They're usually the ordinary world, usually the people who didn't believe in you, usually the version of yourself that almost gave up. You are the artist who keeps going despite the silence. You are the one who does it for the love of it. You are the one who doesn't need external validation to know your work has value. That story is load-bearing. It holds you up. So what happens when success comes and suddenly you have the validation? When people start watching, buying, responding. When the silence becomes noise. A strange thing happens. The story starts to crack. Because the version of you that existed before the recognition was built for exactly that, the before. He knew how to function in obscurity. He had rituals for it, philosophies around it, an entire internal architecture designed to survive it. Success doesn't fit that architecture. It requires you to rebuild from the inside, and that's terrifying in a way that failure never is. Failure just confirms what you already knew how to survive. There's a particular kind of freedom in being unknown. You can experiment. You can be bad. You can change your mind, try a new direction, abandon something halfway through, and the only person who knows is you. The stakes are low precisely because nobody's watching. But once people are watching, are really watching, the work stops being just yours. It starts being interpreted, analyzed, projected onto. Someone will clip something out of context. Someone will decide what you really mean. Someone will hold you to a version of yourself you expressed once, 3 months ago, when you were in a completely different season of your life. The gaze changes the thing being seen. Artists know this. And so the prospect of a larger audience doesn't just feel like more support. It feels like more exposure, more surface area for misreading, more people who now have opinions about who you are. That's not a small fear. That's the fear of losing authorship over your own narrative. And for someone who makes things precisely because they need to say something true, that's existential. Everyone assumes the fear lives on one side, that artists are afraid of being bad, afraid of being ignored, afraid of putting something out and having it land with a thud in a room full of people who couldn't care less. And yes, that fear is real. Nobody's here to pretend otherwise. But there's another fear nobody talks about, the one that hides behind ambition, the one that shows up not when things go wrong, but right when they start going right. Artists are afraid of success, genuinely, viscerally, sometimes paralyzingly afraid of it. And the reason it doesn't get talked about is because it doesn't make sense on the surface, and because admitting you're afraid of the thing you want makes you sound like you don't deserve it. Here's what nobody prepares you for. Success often functions as an ultimatum. If this video goes viral, you have to keep making videos like this. If this essay lands, you have to write more essays. If people love this version of you, the accessible one, the funny one, the one who explains things in a particular way, then you have implicitly agreed to keep being that. And what if you wanted to go somewhere else? What if the thing that blew up was a stepping stone to something you were building toward, but now it's become the destination? What if success freezes you in a moment that was supposed to be temporary? The artist who is afraid of failure is afraid of not getting in. The artist who is afraid of success is afraid of what getting in will cost them. And the cost isn't abstract. It's creative autonomy, the thing you were protecting the whole time. Success also does something cruel to the internal monologue. It introduces a new problem on top of the old one. Before, the fear was, I'm not good enough and no one will care. After, the fear becomes, they care, but they don't know yet that I'm not good enough. This is imposter syndrome, yes, but it's more specific than the general definition suggests. It's not just a vague sense of fraudulence. It's the active terror that success has created a debt you don't know how to repay, that you were lucky once and now everyone is waiting to see if you can do it again, and you don't actually know if you can. Failure has an innocence to it. You didn't make it, but at least you weren't pretending. Success strips that innocence away. Now you're on record as someone who can do the thing, and the next time you sit down to make something, you are no longer making it from a blank page. You are making it from underneath a reputation. That is not a lighter load, that is a heavier one. There's something underneath all of this that's harder to say. A lot of artists have a complicated relationship with wanting things, wanting to be seen, wanting to be paid, wanting an audience that actually shows up. These wants often got labeled somewhere along the way as unseemly, too commercial, too needy, too much. And so artists learn to want quietly, to frame ambition in the language of craft, to say, I just want to make good work, when what they also mean is I want the world to receive it. When success starts to arrive, those buried wants surface, and they are loud, and they don't look the way you thought they would. You wanted recognition, and now you have some, and it turns out recognition comes with critics. You wanted an audience, and now you have one. And it turns out audiences have expectations. You wanted your work to matter, and now it does to some people, and it turns out mattering means being held accountable to it. This is the grief nobody mentions in the success narrative. Not the grief of not making it. The grief of making it and finding out the fantasy was doing most of the emotional work. And reality is more complex, more contradictory, more human than you were prepared for. You don't resolve this fear. You don't eliminate it. That's not the move. The move is to understand that fearing success isn't evidence that you're broken or ungrateful or secretly self-sabotaging. It's evidence that you understand something true about what success actually asks of you. It asks for a more public self. It asks for continuity. It asks you to keep showing up after the first time goes well, which is arguably harder than showing up the first time. The artists who sustain, who keep making things through multiple seasons, through attention and then less attention and then more, are not the ones who stop being afraid. They're the ones who got honest about which fear was actually running the room. Failure is loud. It announces itself. You know when it's there. Success is quieter about its costs. It hands you what you asked for and waits for you to figure out what the invoice looks like. There's also something worth naming about the in-between. The artist who has tasted just enough success to feel its weight, but not enough to feel secure in it. That liminal space might be the most disorienting place of all. Too visible to hide, not established enough to coast. That's where a lot of creative people quietly unravel, not from failure, but from the vertigo of almost. The antidote, if there is one, is to stop treating success as a destination you either reach or don't, and start treating it as a condition you learn to work inside of, imperfectly, incrementally, with your fear still present and your hands still moving. The artist who knows this going in is not less afraid, but they are less surprised, and being less surprised is sometimes enough to keep moving.